The death of Jesus Christ on the cross at Golgotha was not only a tragic historical event, but also the culmination of a great journey of sacrifice. Today, let us explore the miracles surrounding it. After Jesus died, a period of turmoil and change began, not only for his disciples, but for all of humanity. The first days following his death were filled with anxiety and fear. The disciples who had followed him for 3 years now felt lost and confused. They didn't know what to do, unsure of what their future would hold now that their teacher was gone. They gathered in a small room, the doors shut tight, fearing being discovered by those who had crucified Jesus. In their minds, the image of Jesus hanging on the cross still haunted them, and the pain of their loss lingered. The death of Jesus on the cross at Golgotha. When Jesus cried out, "It is finished," and breathed his last, he not only closed the chapter of his life, but also opened a page of profound significance for humanity. The supernatural phenomena at that moment, the sky darkening, the temple veil tearing in two, and the violent earthquake, seemed to unanimously affirm the importance of the event. In the midst of tension and danger, the appearance of Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus holds special significance. As a member of the Jewish council who secretly believed in Jesus, Joseph courageously asked Pilate for permission to take Jesus' body. Along with Nicodemus, who had previously come to Jesus at night to satisfy his longing for knowledge, they embalmed Jesus' body with precious spices and linen, according to Jewish customs. A simple act, yet one filled with loyalty and reverence, despite the dangers from powerful authorities. Jesus' body was placed in a new tomb, carved out of rock, belonging to Joseph, a place of quiet and dignified rest. But that silence did not last. The religious leaders, fearing the prophecy of resurrection, asked Pilate to seal the tomb and place guards to watch over it. The tomb became an impregnable fortress, but they did not know that it would become the center of an event beyond all human understanding, a moment that would spark faith, hope, and salvation, changing the course of history forever. What seemed to be the end was, in fact, the beginning of the resurrection story, a story that challenges curiosity and touches the deepest recesses of the human soul. The miraculous signs at Jesus' death. When Jesus took his final breath on Golgotha, extraordinary events unfolded, leaving witnesses in awe. The temple veil tore from top to bottom, a powerful earthquake shook the ground, and profound spiritual manifestations ushered in a new chapter in the history of human faith. The tearing of the temple veil, seemingly a simple event, carried profound and astonishing significance. This veil had long separated the holy place from the most holy place, a sacred space accessible only to the high priest once a year to offer atonement for the people. When it tore, it was not just a piece of fabric destroyed, but the very barrier between humanity and God dissolved. From that moment, anyone could approach God directly, without intermediaries. Like the curtain of a grand drama being lifted, a new covenant of grace was proclaimed to humankind. At that moment, the earth trembled violently, rocks shattered, and tombs broke open. Was this mere coincidence, or was God himself revealing his absolute power? The quake did more than startle. It declared boldly that Jesus' death was not a defeat, but the beginning of a redeemed world. The earth, once steeped in sin, was now being transformed, like an old, worn-out scene replaced by a radiant, new chapter. At the scene, human emotions painted a vivid and contrasting picture. The Roman centurion, a pagan outsider, was the first to confess, truly, this man was the Son of God. Meanwhile, the crowds who had mocked Jesus now struck their chests in remorse, realizing they had witnessed something beyond imagination. The disciples, though overwhelmed with confusion and grief, began to grasp that Jesus' death was not the end, but the torch lighting the way for a monumental new mission. These miraculous signs were not merely strange historical phenomena, but living symbols of a profound truth. Through his death and resurrection, Jesus opened the door to hope and life for all humanity. Surely, as we reflect on these events, we must ask ourselves, have we truly stepped through this door of grace? However, just a few days later, an extraordinary event occurred. On the third day after his death, the disciples received news that he had risen. Mary Magdalene, one of his most devoted followers, went to the tomb and found the stone rolled away. She encountered Jesus, and he told her that he was alive. This news quickly spread among the disciples, rekindling hope in their hearts. No longer merely followers, they became witnesses to the resurrection, a defining moment for their faith. The resurrection of Jesus was not just a miracle, it was a sign that death is not the end. It gave the disciples the strength to continue the mission he had entrusted to them. They began proclaiming the resurrection, the love of God, and the salvation he brought to humanity. Their message captivated listeners, from Jews to Gentiles, inspiring belief in Jesus. Faith in him spread like wildfire, and the disciples became evangelists, undeterred by opposition and danger. One of the next pivotal events was Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit descended upon the disciples. They received power and wisdom to continue the work of the Lord. On that day they spoke in various languages, and thousands gathered to hear them. Many believed in Jesus and were baptized. This marked a significant turning point in the growth of the Christian community. The disciples were no longer just followers, they became leaders, guiding new believers in their faith. However, this growth did not come without challenges. The disciples and those who believed in Jesus faced persecution from the authorities. They were arrested, beaten, and even killed for their faith. Yet, these hardships did not deter them. They continued to preach, to share the message of the Lord, and to persuade many to follow him. The disciples' perseverance and courage created a powerful wave in society, inspiring countless individuals to place their faith in Jesus. One of the key figures during this period was Paul. Initially a staunch opponent of Christianity, he experienced transformative encounter with Jesus on the road to Damascus and became one of the greatest evangelists. Paul traveled extensively, from city to city, preaching about Jesus and establishing churches. His letters, written to Christian communities, became an integral part of the New Testament, offering guidance and encouragement to believers. Beyond major events, many smaller yet meaningful stories unfolded in the daily lives of the faithful. They shared their resources, helped the poor, and healed the sick. Love and unity among them became essential elements of the Christian faith. Gatherings, shared meals, and prayer meetings built a strong community where everyone felt loved and accepted. In the societal context of the time, the emergence of Christianity brought significant changes in perspectives on humanity and life. Its message of love, forgiveness, and hope resonated across different social strata. The poor, the oppressed, and those feeling lost found solace and hope in their faith in Jesus. However, not everyone welcomed this change. Religious and political leaders, feeling threatened by the growth of Christianity, sought to suppress and eradicate the movement. Persecutions, unjust trials, and boycotts were common. Yet the more they were oppressed, the more resilient the believers became. They were not only followers of Jesus but also individuals willing to sacrifice for their faith. One of the most striking images of this era is that of the martyrs. Many endured suffering, torture, and ultimately death for their faith. These individuals became symbols of courage and steadfastness. Their stories of life and death inspired countless others to pursue their faith with unwavering determination, despite the hardships they faced. Over time, Christianity gradually spread across vast territories, from Jerusalem to the major cities of the Roman Empire. Believers formed strong communities where people could find support and encouragement. They organized ceremonies, prayers, and shared stories about Jesus. Traditions and teachings about him were passed down through generations, creating a rich cultural and spiritual legacy. Christianity became an inseparable part of many lives as the values taught by Jesus permeated minds and hearts. Love, compassion, and forgiveness became guiding principles for many. Christians lived not just for themselves but also for their communities and those around them. acts of kindness and noble gestures became essential aspects of Christian faith, embodying its core teachings. Eventually, after decades of struggle and growth, Christianity gained official recognition. In 313, Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, granting Christians the freedom to practice their faith. This marked a pivotal moment, transforming Christianity from a persecuted movement into an officially recognized religion. From that point, Christianity flourished, spreading across Europe and beyond. The significant events following Jesus' death not only shaped the history of Christianity but also profoundly impacted humanity. The values he imparted, lessons of love, forgiveness, and hope, became sources of inspiration for millions worldwide. Christianity emerged not just as a religion but also as a social movement, a beacon for those seeking meaning and purpose in life. These events laid the foundation for a grand legacy that continues to influence humanity to this day.